weapon that was enlisted to get me to sponsor the bill. Carol Suzuki is also my sweetheart, my wife, the mother of my daughter. And most importantly, she is the daughter of Hideo Suzuki. Her dad was interned, her grandparents were interned, her aunt and uncle were interned. Her uncle was released only to go serve his country fighting for America in Europe. And so I've been greatly honored to learn about her family's history and therefore the history of all Japanese Americans during World War II, which was not taught in my high school, and many of you know the same situation. And that's what's so important about these efforts, and to see these young students know exactly what happened and get to walk the route and understand the curfew and the executive orders and the internment and the relocation and the dislocation. And it's relevant, most importantly, because there are still very nativist forces and sentiments alive and well in this election cycle. This is not just ancient history, unfortunately. And the thing about men that you know, if you read books and sort of learn a little bit more about their family history, his father had been arrested by the FBI a few days after Pearl Harbor. So when he decided to take this walk, he's 26 years old at that point. His dad is gone somewhere. The FBI has him somewhere. Don't know where. He was 25 years old, and he decides he's going to challenge the United States government during war as a 25-year-old who has his dad somewhere. And that is bravery. That is real bravery. But you got to remember, that's patriotism too, because he believed in the system so much. And too often when we have really strong disagreements with our governments around the world, you see people resorting to things like bombing airports, bombing parks. They don't work within the system to try and change it. They take matters into their own hand in ways that are barbaric and cruel. And this is a person who said, I'm going to work within the system to the very end. That meant 9 months in a small cell with no daylight in this building, and that meant decades of fighting for an apology and reparations for his family and families of Japanese Americans, finally resulting in 1990, in 1988, and then 1990 an official apology. But all those years of believing in this country and believing that the legal system will eventually work and believing that truth and justice and fairness will eventually prevail, that's a difficult challenge when you keep getting rejected over and over and over in those early court battles that he suffered. But he never lost faith in the system that we have. And I think that is truly inspiring. So I just want to make one more comment about this bill. It was the very first bill of our House of Representatives debates this year. And it got a little dicier after that, but that particular day was a very remarkable day to get to hear people talk about their experiences around Oregon that day in a bipartisan fashion. Was a really nice tone to start. And too often our legislative bodies and our governments are fighting, and that day it was all about honoring men. So let me wish you a very happy Min Yasui Day. And now you get to hear from my colleague from across the aisle, Representative Mark Johnson.
Wow, what a privilege and a great group to be a part of today. Thanks everybody for turning out for this wonderful day. You know, I was lucky to grow up in Hood River. I grew up in the Hood River Valley, and as I said on a couple of occasions when we were testifying on behalf of this bill, I knew nothing about the history of the Japanese American community, even though I grew up in Hood River and went to school there. And you know, the names of my fellow playmates and students were Hamada and Kiyokawa and Eisai and Kanoshita and so forth, and Yasui. But I never really knew what their parents had gone through. And all that to say is, you know, I really think that Min's principled stand against injustice left its legacy in the Hood River Valley, to where the Japanese American community assimilated itself in such a positive way that we grew up not knowing that our friends had, their parents had gone through this tremendous injustice and now they had been treated so badly by their own country. And what a legacy that was to leave. And to this day, it still has such a positive impact on our community because we really are one. But it could have been vastly different. I think we can all think of places in our country and places across the world where there has been injustice in the past and communities can never quite get beyond that. But I really think it was Min's testimony of how he reacted. He worked within the system. He took a principled stand. He knew his rights as an American citizen. He said, this is not right. So he used the system to the advantage, and I think it's left a lasting legacy. And I think it serves, as Representative Clem said, an example for all of us of what to do in the face of injustice. Let's work legally. Let's work through the system. What can we do to make a difference? But a couple people I wanted to point out from the Hood River community who have been just huge on this issue. One of them is right in front of you right here, Teacher of the Year, Sarah Siegel, who's done an incredible job. Sarah's been recognized across the state for what a wonderful job she does in the classroom, but I can just say she has been a tireless advocate for this issue, and her students have understood what this is about. And again, they're all around here. To say that the next generation of local residents in the Hood River Valley will know the history, and they'll relish in that, and they'll know what Min Yasui Day is all about, and they can be proud to be from the Hood River Valley as they leave and go on to wherever they go in the rest of the world. But Mai Yasui's another one who's just been tireless in her advocacy for this issue, and I know it was a lot of her work that got the Presidential Medal issued because she talked to people back in Congress, she talked to Congressman Walden and so forth to write letters of support, senators and so forth, and I know that had a big hand in actually getting Min awarded the Presidential Medal too. So again, it's just a great privilege to be here. Thanks everyone for turning out, and thank you for allowing me to be a small part of this ceremony today.